Can anybody hear this? Thank you, Pre. We'll be starting in about 1 minute while I get recombobulated here. I got soul, but I'm not a soldier. Alright, I'm trying to... Yeah, you get to listen to my keyboard from time to time. Alright. The next feat will be playing some music before my streams, but tonight I get to unveil something amazing that has come before me. Thanks to thanks to the fine folks at PyTrap, I'm going to go ahead and show off my new PNG tuber. Hello. That little fellow in the lower right, he's Flower Steve. And this is a good time for me to introduce myself. I am Steve Williams, known as Sojourner, and I am the game designer on a game called Forage Friends, made by the fine folks at PyTrap, which includes me. Tonight, I'm going to talk about some game design while I play a fun game that I believe is the game of the century, which is, of course, incredibly arguable. But I have been making games for most of this century, so I'm gonna go ahead and trust the experts on this one. While we load, I guess I should talk a little bit about our goals. So tonight, we're going to play a little Satisfactory, which is a brand new factory simulation slash first world exploration game slash survival game slash what I call efficiency simulator. In this factory game, you're going to see a lot of stuff, and we're going to use this stuff to talk a little bit about our topic tonight, which is efficiency. Efficiency is the thing that every player lusts for. They desire it greatly. However, often we don't think that that's what we want. Hello, Oily. Thank you for a gift. We don't often realize that what we're always looking for is efficiency. And so what ends up happening is we think we're reaching for efficiency, but instead what we're really doing is, or we think we're playing the rest of the game, and what we're really doing is messing with efficiency. So I'm not going to bother to explain most of what you're seeing until we get to somewhere. Hello, cat. That is Lily Multimeow, our mascot. She is older than any cat you will ever meet, and she could still jump from cat tree to cat tree with no problem. But we're not here to talk about Lilu as much as she would like us to talk about her. Instead, we're going to talk a little bit about efficiency in the context of this amazing, beautiful, thought-provoking, and challenging factory game. If you're wondering where I am in the game progress, I am post-game. I've completed everything. I've gotten every challenge, and this world is just a place where I am employing efficiency to make this better and better and less dramatic when you look at it. This hypertube system is one of a great many movement abilities you have in this game. In fact, I could do an entire tube session on just that, just the concepts in the movement in this game. We've got zip lines, which I won't be showing. We've got bouncy trampolines. We've got these hyper tubes. We've got a variety of cars you can drive, including a sports car, and including a Cybertruck, which is crap and it doesn't drive very well. No comment, except, okay, it drives like crap and it's not very durable either. That's weird. But we have a great many movement abilities, which is good because we're going to be spending, as players, a lot of time across an entire continent. And once you get done with the game, you will certainly have a good chunk of the continent under your belt, creating a vast infrastructure to achieve the game's goals, and then once you're done achieving your own goals. We're not going to quite leave. We're at the home port. This is where originally I built. This is the home base. This is where the space elevator is. The fiction of this game is probably an important thing to talk about now. You are a lone colonist, what's known as a pioneer, on this moon called Massage something 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 something. And in this moon, your job was originally to save the day. We don't know what that means, but Fix-It really needed you to send various constructed materials up a space elevator, which eventually creates a spoiler, and then you're left on this planet wondering what to do. Well, the answer to what you do is much, much more factory building, which is what I've been doing for the past couple of weeks during the Fixmas celebration. Fixmas is, of course, the corporation that is responsible for everything you see here, and is also the owner of my person and my body. Since they sent me here, they own me, and I am never going to return. It is a bleak fiction of our dark future. It's on the way to 40K or something like that. I feel like my snowman army down there is like something out of Calvin and Hobbes, which absolutely dates me. While we enjoy one of the mini roads I created for these inefficient factory carts, we're going to talk a little bit about what efficiency really means. And there's three kinds of efficiency that you can think of immediately for games, right? So for games, you have efficiency of game stuff, which is a lot of what a factory game is. So when you think about efficiency of game stuff, you're thinking about, like, how can I get the most juice out of one, say, node? Like when I open up a limestone node, it's going to have a rate of, say, 240 limestone per minute. My first thought, of course, is how do I use 240 limestone a minute? And that's a very basic efficiency. You have stuff. How can I most efficiently lose that? And this is teaching you the alphabet levels, but it's a good idea to keep this fixed in your mind when we talk about the more like cerebral, esoteric kind of stuff. In Satisfactory, you have three kinds of efficiency that you're chasing. And efficiency number one is the stuff itself, the base ingredients. Here we have 4 manufacturers creating one of the end game items, and I'm just doing it for fun at this point. Like I said, I've completed the game, so I'm doing things like making this turbo motor go round, where they eventually get eaten by the big monster here. But in the meantime, we get to be entertained by the most expensive items in the game, wandering around a maze of conveyor belts. So the base ingredients, to make these are many, and we're going to be seeing a lot of them. And that's the first kind of efficiency, is how did I use all the base ingredients to culminate in those 4 machines? In fact, those 4 machines are, I've got their stats down here so I remember what to go for. Those 4 machines consume, for instance, 37.5 radio control units per minute, 75 cooling systems per minute. So if you think about what my goals are right now, it's trying to make sure that I get 450 rubber a minute. Well, there's some now. Delivered, so that way my machines can keep running. So you can see here that an efficient line could be a full line, and that's certainly the basic level of mastery of this game. Is if you can keep source belts full so no machine goes hungry that's looking for stuff, then you have succeeded at the base level of efficiency, right? But we're going to look at some other efficiencies while I wander around. By the way, happy Fixmas, everyone. It is a corporation-sanctioned holiday where you can manufacture presents for the purpose of very limited celebration. I have been told that I have 2 more days to enjoy Fixmas before it is all removed from my life, because it's wasteful, and Fix-It does not waste. What else do we talk about when it comes to efficiency? Well, after we talk about the base ingredients, we want to know how they come together in the manufacturing. So here we have machines making those cooling systems that I talked about earlier. I needed 75 a minute. And in this mess, I've overproduced cooling systems. In this mess, it requires a bunch of ingredients. It requires 2 manufactured goods, in fact complex ones, heat sinks and motors, and nitrogen gas, which is a base material that doesn't come from anywhere around here. So a lot of the efficiency of ingredients and manufactured goods is really around the efficiency of transporting and delivery. And if you are a poor player like me, or at least one who is in a hurry, you're going to create these spaghetti tangles in your effort to try and create the most efficient layouts. Many people would recommend you try to make something a little bit more clean, like I've been trying to do here with my radio control unit production lines. But in the end, you're playing for yourself, so you get to decide if that kind of crazy fuel delivery system is the right kind that you will accept. And incidentally, we have a lot of tools to hide our shame. If we were to rip up the floor, in fact, I'll just go over here. If we rip up the floor in a lot of this, you'll see an even scarier maze of conveyor belt lines just going everywhere. I'm certain that there are horror movies around this concept. All right. So aside from Fixmas, our corporation-sanctioned holiday, and the concepts that I just presented, that we are a factory, we are trying to produce finished goods, and we care about the efficiency of this because time is money. And we'll talk about that kind of efficiency in a minute. So to this end of taking base ingredients, creating manufactured goods until you achieve whatever manufactured good goal you have, which in our case is turbo motors, then you have to think about the next step, which is not just feeding these machines, but it's also powering these machines. I don't need a gun. Guns are, when you're in a factory, guns are not really what you need to have around. Coffee cups, on the other hand, now we're talking. So powering these beasts is one of the geniuses in this incredibly well-designed and balanced management game, in that you start with very low power power sources, and then you move up into these sorts of orders of magnitude power sources. And you start with burning biofuel, and you move up to coal power, and then to oil power. And at each step, you rapidly run into a limit. To build the machines you need to build to move to the next stage of the game, the amount of power required either needs you to cover the entire map and take up every coal and oil resource or what have you, or you need to delve into the true complexities of the game, which is nuclear power. And we're going to go visit a couple places that are going to need some work before we get into like what we're doing here. So this is the map of everything a player can do if you are trying to do about 10% of the total resources in this game. I gotta stress, this is kind of a long haul game where the more you play, the more you want to play. Specifically, I think when you think about folks who have those model train sets with all the intricate little pieces, that's exactly what this game is. It's my model train set. So from this vast list of places, we are going to go first to a place called the Hoodoos, which is our newest and greatest resource gathering area. We could talk about efficiency there. So power we're going to cover in a little bit, because like I said, we have these order of magnitude jumps in power, and so that creates interesting other conversations about efficiency. But we should be getting some playing going. As much as I would love to show you my Pokemons, there is things to discuss, and I would like to do some work as well. So base ingredients, manufactured goods, and power. That's a basic set of efficiencies you want. You want to use the least base ingredients for the close amount of time, and you want to take manufactured goods out of those base ingredients and get them to where they need to go. So let's shut this off because it takes power. It takes a certain kind of power. All right, so the Hoodoos is my newest expansion area. We're not going to do too much, but I'm going to talk a little bit about efficiency here. So this place is a completely untapped set of resources. I just have them generating the resource here, and then you can see the quartz local train coming where it's collected some quartz from the Silicon Promontory. Here at the Hoodoos, our goal is going to be, not this session, but in a future session, to convert this massive amount of ore per minute and this massive amount of copper or quartz into as much of our endgame products as we need. This is a pretty basic thing you do in Satisfactory. You stumble upon, or you go to where resources are, you figure out how best to use them, and then you're off to the races. You start to use them. You build train sets, you build flying drones, you saw a ton of those earlier, and whatever it takes to transport your goods. So the Hoodoos here are part of kind of this central area of the game where traversal is difficult. And so a lot of players don't really get into these areas because they're just difficult to get to. Since this world has a lot of natural features, and we'll get into some kind of the efficiency of helping the player pause and release. Anyways, we're getting ahead of ourselves. This world is extensive. There's a lot to explore and do, not just by getting resources, but there's various bits and bobs you want. Resources to make healing stuff, resources to make your machines better, and resources to store your resources for you. Hidden amongst that is going to be a variety of critters, which I will undoubtedly have to fight while we zip around here. But showing you the mother lode here, gets you this concept of, now we have, and I'm throwing it away right now because there's a lot of stuff on this continent to do, but now we have this massive amount of resources coming in, base ingredients, and I'm going to want to look for the least amount of machines that will build what I want to build. So what do I want to build? There's a few ways to look at it. Let's go through the portal to Diamond Lane with its colors. I like colors too. Yikes. The fog decided to eat my computer's graphic card. Here's the Diamond Lane Power Project, now largely defunct. And the reason why is, if you recall, I mentioned power is this thing, this ladder you sort of climb. You start with some basic stuff. Somewhere at the early mid-game, I guess you would call it, I achieved coal power. And so this was a lot of power, by the way. This is a huge jump in power for the time, as I hinted at. And I was able to build these massive complexes very quickly of coal. This provided looks like about a gigawatt of power per minute, and that was really good back then. It powered most of my growing factory civilization until more expensive things came along, such as those little loop-de-loops over there, which are the diamond producers of Diamond Lane. So with the massive power increase of these are particle accelerators, I am told. With the massive power increase requirements of these larger ones, you have to get to larger and larger power generation. So to finish out the Show Me Your Pokemans tour, we will go to Calamity Bay, which is the most radioactive place you will ever be. In order to do that, we have to go to Spin City, of course. If you're going to deal with nuclear power, you're going to have some spin beforehand. Is that a dad joke, or is that a very, very, very vanilla political joke? I do not know. Okay, here we are. Spin City. By the way, I have teleporters, but this is so much more fun. If you're a Futurama fan, that sound, that thunk, was used, it is so close to the one that was used in the show, I wonder. All right, we were heading to the Calamity Bay. So each area in your factory, as you can imagine, has a job. This area was the very last thing I ever built before I finished the game, and it had all the end-game doodads, which, you know, do things like shoot beams of light into the sky and have giant laser claws. Whoa there, drone. In this case, this thing, we were talking about power efficiency. This thing it just adds a certain amount of power, a certain percentage of your power, and then if you feed it these incredibly endgamey alien power matrices, you get even more power. And very quickly, like all power, it's a drug, and it corrupts you, and pretty soon you can't live without this extra power, in this case 25 gigawatts of power that this thing is generating for me. So you build an infrastructure of very expensive, and incidentally, using a ton of power themselves. This thing is using between 16 and 24 gigawatts of power just to make the little fingers that go into the thing to make more power. So it's an eternal treadmill, and this makes the things that goes into the things to make the finger. And you know, multiply this by 1,000,000 in this game, and you have to start asking yourself questions. Those converters turn diamonds into time crystals, because of course. And this diamond time crystal conversion is the only way you can get time crystals, and you need them for a series of things. But each of these converters uses a ton of power, about a gig at their peak. And so because of that, you really have to start balancing not just the incoming resources, the base resources from Diamond Lane, but also and not just the power requirements, but also just the sheer scale of what you're trying to achieve. And if you can have your base ingredients, your manufactured ingredients, and your electricity handle it. All right, one more place after Calamity Bay. We will actually get to work on building the game and talking about efficiency building in the game and talking about efficiency along the way. So Calamity Bay is an example of a very slapdashly built endgame power system, and I'm going to use it as an example later on to talk a little bit about things that stop efficiency, which is of course why this is a mess. And if you talk to any Satisfactory player, the haunted 1,000-yard stare you get from people when they talk about trying to balance everything in a nuclear power plant is all you're going to need to ever know. All right, so immediately we're hit by the radiation, because of course. So Calamity Bay is intended to serve one purpose, and that is not what you think. It is not these nuclear power plants which burn uranium. And it's not these nuclear power plants which takes the uranium waste, reprocess it into plutonium, and now we have plutonium power plants. It is to make all of this, in addition to producing a prodigious amount of power, gives me the waste needed to make these fixonium, which is a made up, I mean everything's made up, but these fixonium power plants are the only way to truly get rid of, to sink nuclear waste. So once you start going down the road of making any nuclear power, you're going to have to figure out how to handle the waste. And of course you can sit there, there's a nice ocean out there, you could build storage out there in the ocean and just dump your waste out there. But ideally, because Fixit does not waste, our employer/owner, it's our job to try and figure out ways to find uses for things. And in this case, creating endgame fixonium. And as you can see, I'm not very consistent with it, because its ultimate goal is just to sink any remaining waste and produce some power along the way. But of course, these things require endgame infrastructure, as we saw over in Spin City. And so we have an entire region of Calamity Bay here that exists for the sole purpose of getting rid of its own waste through that power plant over there. Along the way, we produce a prodigious amount of power, and and consume a prodigious amount of resources. We also start to run into some of the problems of the mid and late game that we'll talk about later with other efficiencies, which is things that frustrate the efficiency of a player by giving them no way to stop if they want to stop. The cycle for nuclear power begins with uranium, which in this game is hilariously mined at the very top of the world up there. And you bring it down by pack mule or whatever, extensive conveyor lines, and then you begin the process. So like any end-game system, we want to look at the efficiency of game stuff by looking at our end goal of, say, 1 fixonium rod per minute. And we have to work all the way back from that, right? 1 fixonium rod per minute requires a certain amount of trigon, which is what that train brings from Trigon Alley. And we have a bunch of stuff that we have to ship in by drone, electromagnetic rods. We have to ship in these singularity spheres that also run our teleporters. We have to process the waste. There's sulfuric acid involved because, of course, when we process the waste, it outputs water, which, if we don't manage it carefully, will clog the line because you need to flush the water out. And there's methods of dealing with that, which we will discuss. So, this is a factory game in a nutshell, right here. I dug up one thing, which I then use with other things to produce an absolute panoply of stuff. And if you are efficient, which I am clearly not here, or at least I'm not in the absolute term that we're talking about now. If you are efficient, then you would not see things backed up on lines when it comes to nuclear power. There's radiation everywhere. Tick, 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 the whole time I'm here. And there's really nothing that can be done about it now. Once you have a whole bunch of stuff sitting on your belts, and since you can't sink it without running it through that fixonium cycle up there, you are kind of stuck. Now, I've done some razzle-dazzle. I found a way to get rid of a bunch of uranium waste very quickly to try and outproduce this problem. And so that loosened up the belts over here. But, we still have uranium fuel rods coming out of our ears, plutonium fuel rods around the corner, and all the way to the bodega on the street. And that's nuclear power in a nutshell. So efficiency of power required me to build all of this. All of this was just to feed the rest of the machines. Here, we're producing 124, around 124 gigawatts. We're, as you can see, the consumption number is in the 60s and 70s, and sometimes it spikes around 100K. Why am I overproducing? Well, think about this. Many of the fuel lines, fluid lines, require power to operate. And when they stop, they go cold. And so even if you were to flip the power back on, the required fluids to operate your power plants are not yet ready to go. And so the power plants can't operate, and so you're stuck in a cycle. That's called the cold start problem. It is one of the more delightful challenges in Satisfactory, and you have to go through it to truly understand exactly why overproducing power, overproducing any product, is more desirable than being the kind of efficiency that we expect. I brought us over here to show an example of that. These little dealies are called reanimated SAM. They're delicious in milk, and I produce an absolute absurd amount across the map, and every single one comes to here and lands at this single landing pad. Sometimes you'll see a bunch of drones hovering over here like buzzards. The reason why we do that is I would like to know exactly where all my SAM is at any given time. And so in order to achieve that, I have one single source of this SAM, this stuff, and you can see it comes in from a source off screen, and it also comes in from these drones. Its main job is to be delivered to this train, which then goes off and does train things over there in this hilarious roller coaster. And SAM is needed at that yellow station at Calamity Bay, and it's needed at Spin City way over there. So this is how I get rid of it, but you notice that sometimes it goes into that mysterious door at the SAM Research and Tasting Room, and if we take a peek inside, we see that it is simply thrown into the garbage and deleted. And this is another form of efficiency. So in a game like this, if belts become too full, then the things that produce them don't operate. Obviously, if there's nowhere for the output to go, then the machine stops running. This could be very bad for some things that build up things like water. And so you have to make sure that if you cannot properly sync certain things, that you are disposing of them in some way. And I played in the early beta of this game, and there was a level of non-quality of life stuff, and one of them was there wasn't really a good way to get rid of extra stuff, so you were stuck. All right, so that concludes my tour of showing you my Pokemans, and now we're going to try and achieve some goals. I have two critical needs. One is rubber and one is alclad, which is a type of aluminum alloy. It's real, by the way. You can look it up. It's kind of fascinating if you're into material science, which, I mean, super cool if you are. We can talk. I did geology, and petrology and material science go hand in hand. I had to read a material science textbook on alloys, actually, on naturally occurring and semi-recurring alloys. I did this because if there is anyone watching, I wanted to weed out the non-hardcore pipe trap fans. We good? Okay. So, I've just wasted a lot of your time showing you my Pokemans. And you can kind of feel that. That whole, I just felt 5 years of my life get sucked away. Efficiency of player time is an obvious one that we talk about a lot, but we really don't think about solutions for. And I'm not going to really give you solutions except to point out that it's a big deal. The biggest way to think about efficiency of player time is the lowest friction between what the player thinks they want to do and what the player actually can achieve. If I have to press 10 buttons to configure this, excuse me, if I had to press 10 buttons to configure this smelter to make steel ingots, then that would be pretty high friction, and it would be very poor efficiency on my time to spend a lot of time doing this. I would want to find other solutions. And while games like Satisfactory, Factorio, Dyson Sphere Project, which, by the way, we're going to do not probably in March if we keep these up, because I have a lot to say about Dyson Sphere Project. But part of these factory games is you have to sweat, and then you automate the sweat, and then you find new sweat, and then you automate that. So automation is how this game achieves that feeling of efficiency that players are looking for. All right, as promised, I am done wasting the player's time, and we're going to talk about 3 ways we can tell if we are reducing the friction enough that the player is having a good time and feeling like their time is respected, is one way that you often hear. Do we respect the player's time? And the answer to a lot of these is mixed, right? Because a lot of the things you want to do in a game can be broadly defined as friction. And so for that reason, you have this sort of tension between you as a game designer wanting to provide a specific experience, which includes waiting or includes a lot of chopping of wood or what have you, often to give that player the sense of triumph when they move beyond that. Let's see, Deep Woods or Bamboo Nature Center is where we're going. Careful, this place is scary. So as a game designer, you care about efficiency in a different way than the player. But obviously, as a game designer, you are not there to do your worst or get the most out of a player. You're there to provide an experience, which gives an honest exchange, right? The honest exchange that a game designer offers is I will respect your time and I will give you the ability to master what I am offering, this experience I'm offering. In return, you give me some money. That seems very fair. Allons-y. Welcome to the Bamboo Nature Center. This is by far the most dangerous place we will be seeing tonight. There will be probably a lot of random combat. If you are squeamish about fictional alien animals being absolutely mowed down for efficiency and, well, survival, then you may want to avert your eyes while I'm here at the Bamboo Nature Center. But, oops, wrong button. But we're here purposefully because if you recall, I said I needed rubber and all-clad, which is a type of aluminum product. Oh, thunk. I build each of these different, and then I make it a game to see if I can make it like a little bit annoying to get out each time. There's not a lot of personal expression in Satisfactory because you're building factories, but there's some good amount, and one of them is building these Art Deco style homes sometimes, or this one some sort of cantilevered home you'd find in the Bay Area on some hill or something. Let's keep an eye on enemies for a sec. Yeah, they're everywhere. So right now we are producing aluminum in a very inefficient small quantity. This is proof of concept stuff. Our main job so far has been to bring the bauxite ore, which is this brown stuff, from the various sources, bring in coal from, well, our one source over there, and then smash them together in these machines, this refinery here, to make aluminum scrap. And then once we've made aluminum scrap, we get the ability to run that through a machine and run that through a smelter and turn that into an aluminum ingot. And for our one UK viewer, that's aluminium, because you can't be British without adding just random sounds. Americans have stuff to do. You don't have time for syllables or even an understanding of what a syllable means. So once we have smelted the bars, right now I'm just throwing them away by constructing empty fluid tanks and then dumping them into the machine that eats things. I'm not going to get into why this machine can do more than just be a thing that eats, but for the most part, I'm eating a lot of stuff right now. This game has a lot of nasty creatures, and often you do not trap them like this, but one part of efficiency is also on player experience, and we'll talk a little bit more about that if we have time. And that is around, okay, I've been building a factory for half an hour. Can I do something else? Well, the answer is heck yeah. You can fight animals and carve out some territory, get resources from them. There is something out here that's trying to kill me, and it's not those hatchers down there. So, happy Fixmas, everyone. Okay, so this is the highest geographic area in the game, the red bamboo woods, and so for this reason, by basic game design logic, it is also the absurdly most dangerous area. And you know, I've got all the endgame gear, and my fear glands were removed, so I'm gonna go hunt this guy over here. Oh no, he didn't spawn today, just to make me a liar. Well, there's a guy who spawns over here. He's a tough beastie, and I was gonna fight him just to show. But you know, I'm a builder, not a fighter, so running around with a gun is not getting me this bauxite processed. So for now, we've got a piece of the puzzle, right? We've got bauxite being processed to some degree, and we've got the bits and bobs of that being made into fluid tanks. And all I have to do is do a quick switcheroo here. Uh-oh. I can't make all-clad plates here. And the reason why is we have things that take one thing, things that take two things, and things that take four things. So these are constructors. They take one thing, And the reason why I built these is because empty fluid tanks are the highest throughput way to throw away aluminum until I have a use for it. And since I need alclad, I have a new problem, and that is alclad consists of 2 ingredients. Copper bars and aluminum bars. So in order to do this, I'm going to now need a source of copper, which are often abundant, but never where you need them. So for now, we are stymied in our goal of getting some more alclad. And this is a little bit about how playing Satisfactory can be if you're just rushing from goal to goal to goal and not really planning for the big picture. And so this gets into the efficiency of player time. Low friction is more than just making the player's desires easy to achieve if it's, you know, within the bounds of the game, but it's also things like, do I have immediate goals I can work towards? I call those small carrots, right? Like a small carrot would be, I would like to get that coal over to here, so that way I can start to process aluminum. Great, done. And that small carrot gives me the satisfaction of having achieved something within a relatively reasonable time span, within a those guys again, within the time span of a session, within the time span of a level of my character's progress, etc. So these efficient player time choices here, the friction reduction for the small carrots is really about, I see it, I click it, I want to do it, I have the previous setup, or I'm making the setup, and therefore, bada bing, bada boom, I've got it. So small carrots are really about not gratifying players, which you hear about a lot, make the player happy. No, as a game designer, you have a vision in your mind of an experience, and it is your job to deliver the player the experience, not the player to ask for a specific experience and then have you try to deliver it. That one, that doesn't work, and two, kind of what the hell? Like, I don't know how to be your head. I know how to be in my head, and my job as a game designer is to figure out enough about what's in your head to smash the two together. We're on the hunt for copper. We have several tools for finding copper. I'm doing it the brute force way now, of just like scrolling around the map. There's probably some by the hidden valley over there, but that's a long stretch. If I'm not able to transport it from nearby, I'm going to have to fly it in, which is a very power-intensive thing to do for just copper. So then we ask ourselves the opposite question. If I don't want to bring the copper to the mountain, maybe I can bring the mountain to the geologist. Wait, I mixed that up. I like rocks, what can I say? The second geology gets mentioned, I get all giddy and lose my mind. So since we're on the hunt for copper, and since we are acknowledging that it may be a good idea to maybe not try and figure that out, we can start to look at other places where we're achieving some of these goals. For instance, up here in Hidden Valley Steel, we are producing a lot of coal. Bringing the coal down here is some other bauxite locations. So this is just a single bauxite node that I'm trying to make good. Oh, sorry, I'm pulling in the bauxite from here and here too. But trying to leverage maybe this train line is probably not a good idea on the spider run, because one, there's a lot of spiders, and two, there's a sheer cliff that goes down. It's not easy to run a train down a sheer cliff. I'm sure if we look up the history of the 1860s or something, we'll find that they used to do that regularly. But this is the XDX century. We don't have the technology to run a train down a cliff. So we have some more planning to do. Obviously, we can use these big trees as some sort of platform. But since this is beyond the end game, I'm just going to fly in some copper. Luckily, we've built this nature preserve, mostly though so I can build on it. So we have here transport, drone port. Uh-oh. Why am I missing high-speed? Okay, so I'm missing high-speed connectors. So just like efficiency of game stuff is important, inefficiency of game stuff leads to a sudden inefficiency of my player time. I'm going to have to abandon what I'm doing specifically because I do not have a supply of the things I need to continue to build the things I need to do. Factory games do be like this, yo. So let's see, I needed, what did I need again? I needed high-speed connectors. So that's going to be in Oil's Well, which is I think where we logged in today. Oil's Well produces plastic. It produces rubber. In fact, that's where all my rubber is coming from right now. It produces a specific kind of fuel called rocket fuel, which is used in all of my drones. It's those red fuel bottles you see everywhere. And they also produce a lot of electronic goods. We get our circuit boards from there. We get our computers from there. We get our supercomputers from there. We get our high-speed connectors and other improbable sounding science fiction electronics as well. Whee! The face of progress, folks. Oh, nice one, drone. I could not have planned that better. Stepped on my own line there. All right, so just a quick preface on oil production because we're going to talk about it with inefficiency shortly. We make oil. Oil does a thing we want, in this case make fuel, but it does a thing we don't want. It makes polymer resin. So now we have a problem. What do we do with polymer resin? Normally you can throw it away because you wanted the fuel in this scenario, but you can also process polymer resin with water to make, in this case, rubber. But then, where do we get the water from? Where do we store the water? Is there anything that gives off water that we have to get rid of? So these problems are another part of efficiency that we will, or aspect of efficiency that we'll get to in a bit. I want to get to the last bit of the three main efficiencies. So if the first one's efficiency of game stuff, resources, created stuff, consumable stuff, stuff over time, stuff that requires a cooldown. We also have, I was here for high-speed connectors. We also have, oh, I got really clever with the construction of this area. Hang on, I gotta remember where the high-speed connectors go. Too clever by far. Oh wow, I have a quick wire shortage? No time to look at that now, friends. This is a common thing you do. Why do I have a quick wire shortage? It's like having an oxygen shortage. I make so many quick wires. Speaking of which, where's the car with the quick wires? We do have to troubleshoot this because this is the thing that makes the thing that needs the thing. So quick wire is a mid-game electronics ingredient. It's wire, it's quick, so quick that this little tractor is taking forever. There we go. Delivery of quick wire, but not very much. I'm going to commandeer this tractor. We'll get back for those high-speed connectors, but this is a new inefficiency, which is 10 machines not working because of lack of quick wire. Stay there. Okay, quick wire comes in. Belt is very much not full. This shiny see-through belt is a Mark 6 belt. It can carry 1,200 objects per minute. And if you think that's an odd number to keep in your head, you are not a Satisfactory player. This kind right here, this is a Mark 3. How many? Yeah, everyone knows that. 270 a minute. 540. 780, and then 1200. All right, so this ridiculous conveyor lift from Hades brings down a bunch of stuff from this weird region up here that's really fun to explore if you like being chomped on by incredibly creepy spiders. Whoever designed their spiders, they feature prominently in my nightmares, and I wish they would go away. And you're thinking, wait, don't they have a special mode? Why, yes. This game, like many games nowadays, has an arachnophobia mode. In this case, it replaces the spiders with cat faces. If you think that that is better, no. It is much more terrifying. I am not an overly tough person, but I like to think I'm pretty mentally tough, and it almost broke me. It was terrifying seeing a bunch of little cats coming after me like meow, meow, meow. Okay, so this is where Quickwire is born. Let's find out if we have any inefficiencies that's preventing those machines from working. So Quickwire is made from this fictitious material called Caterium. This is not gold. It's called Caterium because of reasons. We produce 480 Caterium per minute. 480 Caterium per minute then gets eaten by these smelters, 45 per minute. So then we do math. 2 of these is 90, 180, 270, 360. I'm laughing because 450 plus 45. So we've got 500, right? So we've got 500 being needed by the smelters. But we're making 480. But look at this. It's fully backed up. It's got almost 100 Caterium ore sitting there. So even though it's not producing enough for those machines, excuse me, that's not the problem. Whenever possible, you want to have too much of your base ingredients. Otherwise, you're going to be even more inefficient. So you can see that the Caterium is backed up here. But these machines, that you can hear them kind of start and stop, and that's because they're full of Caterium ingots. So the Caterium ore is getting processed just fine, and in fact, the ingots are not being eaten, and as you can see here, they are not. So where's the problem? We are making, let's do some math again, 15, 30, 60, 90, 120, 150 plus 15 is, let's call it 175 just for my sanity. But these things only eat 12 per minute baseline. So as you can see, we're producing an absurd amount of ingots, and we're eating maybe 60 of them? No, a little bit more than that. So our solution here is to employ one of the fun science fiction things. You can turn these adorable space slugs into power shards. You can then use them to overclock machines up to 250%, and at the cost of a lot of power. And we're going to do that. And we're going to make this a little faster. All right, now we've fully overclocked all these machines. Put some ore back. Because this game likes, they're a bunch of jokers, let me tell you, about having you do weird random inefficiencies. So, what was our problem? Our problem was we didn't have enough Quickwire to make things like high-speed connectors and supercomputers and other stuff like that. This was an inefficiency. It is always worse to have your final product lines starve. You want that to never happen. You want so much stuff coming out of your ears that you never have to worry about that inefficiency. So what we've done is we've just employed a very crude lever. We just said, hey, look, this stuff is backed up. Let's just turn everything up to max. So let's do a little math. This is a factory game, and if we're talking efficiency, there's gotta be some math. These dealios now eat 30 Caterium ingots per minute. And how many of these do we have? 30, 60, 90, 120, 150, 180. So we want 180 ingots per minute with our overclocked dudes. And these guys are, we got 15, 30, 45, lose it here, 15 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 15 times 11. Anyone? Anyone? Really? I was hoping someone would jump in the chat and say. Or maybe someone did and I missed it. Alright, I guess the math crowd isn't here. So 15 times 11, 150 plus 15, 165. So we're making 165. We need about, 160 or so. So we're doing okay in terms of eating what we make. A little bit more is being made here. And there's some tricks we can employ. If this is going to be a short-term fix, I can just add some more of these constructors on and just try and clear out all the backed up ingots. In fact, I'm going to do that just because the quick-wire situation is pretty dire. Well, copy your configuration, put it on you, attach you to power. Boop. Now you need an input. First a splitter. Lined up. Thank you, quality of life. Copy whatever belt that is. Copy whatever belt that is. And we're working. Let's see, there's a spot. All right. It's now part of the fleet. Well, it's nice to just say, I'm going to do this. Let's see what the consequences are. We're eating another 30 a minute. With 11 machines, even if we're underproducing, it's going to be at least an hour of real time before these guys run out if I got the math wrong. So, not too worried about that. So this guy is making 150 more quick wire per minute, and these folks are also making considerably more quick wire than they started, 250%, 2.5 times more. So we have greatly increased the quick wire to the degree that we have a full belt. Full belts are nice if they're moving at the capacity of the belt, but this is not. And since we're in a hurry, we aren't here to actually fix this problem. We were here to do something else. I'm just going to give it the fastest belt speed, which is class 1,200 a minute. That's right. Well, we might be making 1,200 a minute. I mean, we might be able to push 1,200 a minute for a while. We're not making that. Huh. All right, well, let's keep upgrading. Because at the very least, it was more than 480. Some random naturally occurring radiation. If you find random naturally occurring radiation, that means that there's probably a very large animal nearby that wants to eat you. And also treasure. It's this game's version of behind a waterfall is a treasure room, which incidentally, it also has that. And by treasure room, I mean sometimes resources, but always spiders. Or cats, if you're into them. And don't be into that. We won't be friends. Okay. Well, we've increased the throughput. Did I turn that guy back on? Did I turn the tractor back on? I must have. He's not here. They're not here. Certainly. Oh, there it is. All right, let's just do a quick eyeball check. Tons of quick wires showing up now. This vehicle delivers cans for water, and we'll talk about that because that's one of the inefficiencies that we have to fix as a player. Let's see what's going on here. You got fuel. Oh, okay, the autopilot is. Go get him, Tiger. So, yeah, this sleek black number it picks up jerry cans, basically, drops them off at my aluminum production facility over there, and it fills them with water and then dumps them into the maw. All right, we were here for high-speed connectors. See how this game gets you, by the way, with those short-term carrots? And I was confused momentarily, and then I remembered we probably won't find any high-speed connectors because I shipped them out now. Those are the AI ones. Oh, okay. Well, luckily there's some we can steal from here. But the real problem is we don't have an extra dimensional storage. Lilu, would you like to tell us about the extra dimensional storage? Or do you want to tell me about the raccoon who's rampaging through the garden and you don't think it's fair? I knew it. It's the raccoon. You're off to the window again. Ladies and gentlemen, Lilu Multimeow. The fiercest predator to ever live inside a house. Okay, so we just wasted a little bit of time, but I'm going to see if I can at least do a stopgap of taking a lot of these high-speed connectors. And we're going to go ahead and build our extra dimensional storage with just these so I have them available. What is extra dimensional storage? Why, it's the ability to store something in an extra dimension. In this case, it's a sci-fi thing. We are using it to... I'm getting lost, sorry. We are using it, in this case, to store some stuff that we can use anywhere in the map. We don't have to have it in our inventory or anything. I'm just going to slap this down because we are spending more time on this stuff than I'd like, and we have a commercial presentation that I need to give shortly. Like I said, this is just a stopgap to get it into an extra dimensional storage so we can use it elsewhere. While we travel back to where we were, remember our goal: aluminum, alclad, don't have the copper. While we are on our way, I have a exciting commercial presentation that Fixit has asked me to read. Let's see. I'm just getting this in front of me now. We don't vet these commercials, but here we go. Looks like Fixit has paid me to say the following. At Fixit Incorporated, we believe in efficiency. That's why we send single employees to alien planets to construct continent-spanning factories. Just you, alone. With our patented equipment, you'll transform this pristine wilderness into a harmonious network of conveyor belts and smokestacks. Our proprietary technology ensures you can build a nuclear power plant using nothing but leaves and berries. Yeah, leaves. Yeah, berries. No, we're not going to explain how. Your relentless exploitation of natural resources serves the greater good. Which greater good? That's classified. Fix it. Your success is our success. Further questions will be met with termination. Your job, 2. Well, thank you, Fixit. That's what keeps the lights on and our Pioneer safe on massage. All right, so this was a nail to make a horseshoe, to make... I don't actually know that quote. For want of a nail, some archaic medieval stuff happened. And next time I play a fantasy game, I'll look that up. I'm going to bring in some copper. I'm going to do it right. I'm going to use this container for deadly creatures as our landing spot. Whoops. Would anyone in the stream like to pick a color for this new device to be? D is its importance. I says that it's importing, and then something about the location. Efficiency, my friends. Did anyone pick a color? Purple. Purple. All right, right on. Our new drone. Will be purple. Like to make the region a little purple. Why not? Oh, someone's mad at me. Oh, it's one of those hatchers. Live in captivity, my friend. You'll survive whatever happens when we get more humans on this delightful alien. They're angry ones, though. All right, so how do you produce a efficient power or efficient delivery network? You don't build on top of angry alien creatures. Oh, I'm just chuffed at this whole situation. Okay. Let's get some fuel for our drone. Most of our major hubs have dedicated fuel delivery, but I like to keep some fuel out in these hinter regions. And so for that reason, I have my extra dimensional space fill up fuel very, very quickly so I can deploy it where it's needed. You do that by just having lots of extra dimensional stuff. I am waiting for something else to come jumping out to eat me. Okay. Purple was our color. And there we go. Alright, we fueled our drone. Boop. So this will import copper ingots, which we will use with this existing line to make all cloud. So let's talk a little bit about the last efficiency. The efficiency of fun. So as a game designer, I mean, this is the game design bit of our conversation today. So as a game designer, you have an experience that you wish someone to have. That's game design. And this experience will take time, but it will also take mental energy. And this mental energy is not to be sneezed at. It's a thing that I talk about all the time. It's called cognitive load. And we'll talk more about cognitive load in a greater sense, but for now, because your brain is processing a lot, that's cognitive. Oops, wrong button. This takes a toll. You're literally burning calories to keep your brain operating to do the stuff that the designer is asking you to do with your brain. So you would think that if everything was a roller coaster all the time, the player would have the most fun. If everything is high, though, then there is no way to tell that you are at a high. And this is kind of the conundrum of a designer, because a low, or at least a pause, can become a reason for players to leave. Trying to figure out where I know where I want copper from. A place where I never go, the Far East. So, so as the game designer, you need to do more than just provide the fun. You also need to pace the fun. And we do that in a lot of ways that are obvious, such as, ooh, I left the oven on. Actually, I need to use this one. Boop. There are master and satellite portals. This is one of the master ones. It's not. Disconnect. And then change the linked portal to... Oh, I could do this at Fire Crater too, but no, we'll go Far East. This particular save is almost 300 hours old. So I've had a lot of time to think of names and stuff like that. 300 real life hours, by the way. This is a game that will suck you in. In fact, that's part of this efficiency discussion. So when we say efficiency of fun, what we're really talking about is climax and release, right? A climax is great. It is to be desired. You want one all the time. But if you have one all the time, And here I'm not just talking about the body one, but any sort of climactic moment, triumph, loss. You can't keep that stuff up. Or if you do, you exhaust yourself, and more importantly, you lose the joy or the thrill or the connection with whatever that thing was. Here we are in Far East, which is for a long time a gunpowder factory. It just made gunpowder and threw it away. We're doing slightly more, but we're going to use Far East to make the copper we need to ship. So right now Far East is using copper to ship this stuff called copper powder. Anyone who has played Satisfactory probably just twitched involuntarily. And you can kind of get the hint of what I mean when I say copper powder is one of the most bizarrely painful endgame resources you need. And the reason why it's difficult is not because it's hard to construct. Copper is one of the most easily found base elements. You just need absurd amounts of it to produce a little bit of powder. And as you can see, I need a lot of powder. Specifically, you need something like 300 per minute per quantum or particle accelerator for this one recipe. So I'm producing an absolute I'm running out of hyperbole here. But I know something that these things don't know, which is I really don't need a lot of copper powder anymore. So I'm going to have to make some decisions here. Do I want to keep the copper powder train running and just split off some of the extra resources, or do I have other ambitions? So to answer this question, let's find out what's over here. That's iron, that's iron. Let's look at the map. Is there any oh, look at that, copper right here. Oh, it's impure though. What else do we got? Iron, 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 iron. Pure copper ore, but that's a trek. Well, maybe not so much as I think. Let's go take a look at this copper ore here. Remember, there it is. Remember, our goal is to send copper ingots to deep woods so we can make alclad plates, so we can make heat sinks, so we can make cooling systems, so we can make turbo burners. That's what we're trying to do. Climax and release. So you can't zap pleasure centers in someone's mind all the time, right? Like, one, you're going to burn them out, but two, that takes a lot of effort. So instead, where are we at? So instead, we need to do some sort of pause, climax and release, climax and release. And by the way, the bigger the climax, the bigger the moment of triumph, the bigger the moment of sadness, the more of a pause, the more of a release you need. And we know all this. To take a silly example, when Kylo Ren kills Han Solo, spoiler, that was a gut punch to a lot of people. There was a measurable reaction to people's bodies. And then afterwards, if you recall the movie, there was some time. There was some time. I mean, they would say time to grieve, but really it's time for the audience to process a big blow. And since it was such a big blow, it required more of a time to process. Right. Is that doesn't look like copper. Weird lighting. All right. Let's get this copper thing going. We've spent pretty much this entire session on this one thing. I mean, there's been talking. Cooldowns, by the way, are a great example of climax and release. In this case, maybe it's just climax of getting the thing you want, but it's still climax. Still a thing you need to release for the player. Give them a rest. Setting up some storage because I don't know how long it's going to take. And I want this guy to go flat out, 1,200 a minute. So obviously that's a lot, so it's going to fill up these things, but I wanted to just get some sort of battery. So we have, quote unquote, some kind of battery of copper. Let's process it. Now, one of the efficiencies this game put in at the very, very end of its production cycle is blueprints, which is an ability for you to save a very specific configuration of machines. And of course, you can trade these online. And so you can find something like this. This machine will process half by default of what that thing's producing. It's 8 smelters and some razzle dazzle. Whoever made this was a mad genius. I love it. Oh, whoops. I'm not in range of a power line. My flight requires power lines. Just making sure I got the inputs and outputs right. I do have the inputs and outputs right. This is so fun to watch. Let's smelt some more. I gotta do that in a dwarf voice. Let's smelt some more. I have a beard, but no ale. Pie trap wooden spring for ale. So, these blueprints tend to be pretty specific. In this case, these blueprints are for iron ore, but luckily, oops, easily fixed. So cooldown timers in games exist for more than just pacing the economics of a game, but they also exist for the purpose of pacing the player, giving them permission. Everyone doing copper now? Giving them permission to rest, giving them permission to do something other than what they thought they were supposed to do before, and etc. The science behind how to do it and the craft, the art and craft of it is, I mean, I've spent 20 years learning it. There's a lot to it because it's a fundamental of human psychology. We don't really have any language to talk about emotional release except for in the context of humans having emotional release. So psychology is a big part of your game design toolkit. I've probably spent more time studying psychology than I have economics, and that's my focus. So, all right, let's get through a couple more of these notes while that fills up a little bit. We don't want to exhaust the player without meaning to. So if we put too much load on the player, if we put too much climax, not enough release, if we put too much thought and not enough rest, where you can do something like let a machine fill up, you're going to exhaust the player. This is real exhaustion, measurable mind exhaustion, calories burnt. And your player is going to leave perhaps with a negative opinion because they are tired, because they are grumpy. Oh no, the sun's coming up and now I feel the fatigue that I've been putting off. And so for all these reasons, it's our job as game designers to make sure that when we exhaust the player, or at least invite them to leave, or give them permission, as some people say, to leave, we don't do it. We do it mindfully of the fact that the player may be at limits that we didn't know about or didn't predict. Right, now to make some smeltings. I don't have a blueprint for that, but this is mindless, delightfully mindless. I love doing this part. I'm missing iron rods. Oh my goodness, I am not doing a very good job today of efficiency. I can whip some up real quick. Oh wait, there was an iron node right here. Look at that. We're going to create a factory right here. Why not? Take that efficiency. All right. We need iron rods. We need iron rods, and I can't make the thing that makes iron rods yet, so I need to build something else. I need to build a crafting bench. I cannot build a crafting bench. An interesting sort of cold start problem. So I have a crafting bench at home. I want a crafting bench. We have a crafting bench at home. Crafting bench at home. Alright. That joke didn't really land. Alright, I'll let that cogitate. I have to go back home, because apparently I need a crafting bench. Normally I keep one everywhere I build. Not for this purpose, but by golly, I'm glad I did if I did. Ah, here we go. There we go. Alright, while those are building, we have two kinds of exhaustion for players. There's the cognitive load in the moment, being too sustained, jump scares, right? Dark Souls is actually pretty brilliant at not exhausting the player too much, because the whole game is just a continuous jump scare if you don't mean that. And by jump scare, I mean instant reaction, instant emotional response. But there's also the cognitive load of this game, as we're seeing, which is adding straw to a camel's back. And you can keep doing this. I'm keeping in my head that I need iron ore so I can make copper ingots, so I can send copper ingots to the bamboo area so I can make alclad plates. That's a lot of cognitive load I'm keeping in my head. And you can see on the right that I have notes about various things that were important once. But for the most part, it's expected to be in your head. So adding these straws to the player's mental camel is something that the game designer needs to do extremely mindfully. Because if the player is spending too much time pondering the wrong thing, then you're exhausting them, you're frustrating them when they find out it is the wrong thing. And most importantly, you've just wasted a lot of everyone's energy. They want something, they're not getting it. That's the ultimate failure of a game designer. Oops, smelter first. And we're just going to quickly slap this down so we can not worry about this for a few. So what I'm building is just a very basic production line for iron rods, and then I'm building an extra dimensional portal that will hold said rods. Power. Oops, that power line's full. Get cheeky here. You make iron rods. You are ingots. You are overclocked. Oh, I need to get more power. Overclocked, 75 ingots per minute. Fully overclocked, eating half of that, so I can build 2 of these. Again, the sole purpose of this production line is not to be efficient, it is to produce exactly one product and stop when it's done, which is what you'll see. But I am going to take advantage of making enough for 2 machines. And since I didn't really plan this, you can see that it's already a mess. C'est la vie. I'm not going to be looking at this thing very much, so... And there we go. Production. Okay, so now iron rods are being built. They're put into the extra dimensional things, so now I can build with freedom without having to worry about suddenly running out of a very basic building material. So Satisfactory is super relevant for the whole cognitive load thing, not just for the keeping things in your head, like the number 150 for the, or 120 for the amount of diamonds I was making at one location, but it's also the ability of this game to have the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. It's what we used to call addiction before we realize that that's not the kind of word we want to use for it, because it's not really addiction so much as it's habituation. It's an important thing here at PyTrap because we are making a game that is promoting mindful, wellness walking for folks who may not really want to walk but might enjoy a good story and a good gardening game. As the game designer, I'm responsible for the gardening game. I mean, I'm responsible for the whole game's design, but as an economy expert and a guy who loves gardens, I'm mostly involved with making sure that all the stuff around the walking and the walking itself is rewarding and fun. And along the way, you'll get a good storyline by our excellent writers in the game. I wanted to give a shout out. I forgot to do this, and I am a criminal for not doing this. I want to give a shout out to Alondra, who was my Secret Santa also this year, in addition to an amazing Secret Santa gift. Alondra is the creator of my PNG tuber that you see opening and closing their mouth. I love it. I love it. It's amazing to see such a cute rendition of my old grizzled face. It's not old and grizzled, but sometimes it feels that way. It's not the years, it's the mileage, baby. All right, so we want to get these machines. Oh, yes, I want to upgrade this power outlet, which is fiddly. Speaking of efficiencies. Then I connect it to the network. Again, what a mess. All right, the ingredients are put in. One for the money, two for the show, three to get ready. Now go, cat, go. All right, we got ourselves an operational copper ingot. So at some point in this game, I spent an inordinate amount of time producing the next thing on this production line, which is copper sheets. I am on 100% autopilot. I was going to make copper sheets. I don't need it. We need to ship these copper ingots to Bamboo, to make the Alclad, to make the heat sinks, to make the cooling systems, to make the turbo motors. All right, so all we need to do is ship it. We need a transport, which means, may I have another color, please, to my faithful viewers. From, I don't know, there's a preposition in there. Sometimes you want to try and line these up, but you know, some days are holidays, and some days you call your mother. That's today. We're going to do this instead. Okay, did we get a color? Let's bring it up. These are the color choices. We have metal finishes and all of these delightful swatches. You can give me a number, I just realized. While the swatch is being selected, when we say, thank you, when we say a game causes you to lose hours, sometimes we mean flow, which is a delightful psychological state that I'll spend an entire YouTube session talking about. But there are other reasons, not so good. Sometimes players lose hours because of the sense of the pressure of need that each moment causes. Satisfactory is famous for this. Each moment leads to another moment. You've seen it in this session of something I need to do, something I need to do, something I need to do. Okay, we're hooked up. Gotta give this one a name. We are at Far East. Is Far East the E? No. Far East is not the E. That's Oasis. Deep Pool. So this is an export. So X. We'll call this Far East Copper. I'll definitely forget. There's a million things we make out of copper. All right, so this port is going to go to, I'm going to type this one, bamboo copper with as many ingots as it can carry. And then bamboo copper will accept those ingots and send the ship back. Let's get some fuel for it. So I mentioned some efficiencies already in this session. I talked about the efficiency of game stuff, right, which is the obvious stuff. The efficiency of player time, which is the friction question. And the efficiency of fun, right, like the fun moments, the cognitive load itself of playing the game. There are many efficiencies that we can discuss. For instance, emotional efficiency, right? Like how much impact per minute do you really want to have? And that's different than the climax and release, because you can have a lot of emotional content and not have it be wildly stressing or impactful on the player, but still over time exhaust the player. Social efficiency. This is famous in MMORPGs. The requirements of teamwork, the requirements of hierarchy, the requirements of players working together creates an entire efficiency of how to manage those people, how to give rewards fairly, how to make everyone happy, how to provide the various types of fun each person has. So there's efficiencies in there, how to deliver that. Scarcity efficiency, games like Oxygen Not Included kind of typify this, or Don't Starve. Games where it's not just enough to be efficient, but you also have to be efficient against basically a lifetimer. Okay, so we got the copper, ingots, traveling. Roughly, by the way, we can make this a little better. Roughly, I believe I am making 540 ingots per minute. No, I'm making 240 ingots per minute. That won't do, my friends. I thought we were leaving, but we are not leaving. This dealio makes 1,200 ore a minute, and I'm eating 240. If we're going to overproduce at the source. So let's do that while we talk. I'm going to skip the rest of the cognitive load section, but I'm going to say that there are three forms of cognitive load that are very important for efficiency. There's the intrinsic load, which is kind of the rules of the game. And the more complex the rules of the game, the more intrinsic load the player needs to have, the stuff that needs to sit on board just to operate in the game. And so the intrinsic load is very different for games. Like there's Space Invaders, right? And then there's Stellaris. And, Space Invaders has very little cognitive load. Stellaris, you have to keep 100 things in your head just to turn on the game. Extraneous load, this is processing. UI, UX is involved with this. Good UI, UX helps a player process, so they have less of an extraneous load. Germane load, this is the strategies. This is how you look at stuff in the game that I've been doing and saying, ooh, I have a 1,200 copper ore. I need to use that. This is the germane load. This is the stuff, the planning load. I'm going to skip over the rest of this cognitive load topic and talk a little bit about some specific games that you can find that that kind of typify efficiency. Oh, I just passed it. Nope, we don't want to do that. Let's talk a little bit instead. Notes. Let's talk a little bit instead about what happens when efficiency gets frustrated. And by that I mean the player is attempting to do the things they want to do in the most efficient manner possible and are frustrated by it, by your game. That's no good. There, that's the side. What? No, I twisted it. Okay. They're stackable, but they're not stackable easily. Boop. Okay. This will be another 240. I'm going to need a lot of these if I want to use everything, but I'm going to only do some. When you play a game, you're attempting to hone some sort of skill, right? When you do, honing a skill involves shaving time, resources off of work. And when that stops being a thing you do, the game stops being fun. And the main way you can lose that is if the efficiency doesn't quite serve enough variability to the player. And more importantly, if it doesn't satisfy all the player's needs in the game. Example, in Satisfactory, you could be building this factory, and I can go off over there and fight monsters and collect more resources and find rare artifacts and talk to aliens through this weird voiceover. That allows me to reset between each stage. If I get cognitively loaded down and if I feel like my efficiency of constructing is not right because of various reasons, I can just go and hunt monsters and find new resource locations. And so that creates, that resolves this frustration. That's right, I was using this as a specific example. And because of that, you keep your player longer. Now, if you take a game that doesn't have any variability, if you were only building factories, or if you were only, I'm going to have to do some ugly razzle-dazzle, then your game gets a lot weaker. You lose players faster because there's less variability to be had, and therefore they get efficient, and then they're done. There is no more efficiency to be gained, and therefore there is no more fun to be had. I need to switch these guys over to copper, I forgot. And I need to load them down with these guys. Full power. One way to think about it is you have two minds when you play a game. You have the thrill-seeking mind, what I call the seeker, and you have the job's worth mind, you know, the petty bureaucrat that just gets through the day and isn't going to try and do anything. Just get through the day. So your job's worth self is a lot of what you do on your day-to-day life, and you hate it. You play games to escape from that. So once this efficiency becomes set, then we've actually frustrated efficiency. And for this reason, the player turns from a seeker, which is an exciting, thrilling thing to be, to a Jobsworth, who is just getting through the day. You already do that IRL. You don't. Players always say it's a second job. That's exactly what they're talking about. They're Jobsworths now, petty little bureaucrats just trying to get through. All right, sorry, I just love that word, Jobsworth. Jobsworth, Jobsworth. What's your job's worth? I didn't actually talk about any of the specific efficiencies in Satisfactory, which is fine. Like, who cares? But there was a whole section in my notes about efficiencies involving each of the individual things. And the main thing I just wanted to say is the game's complexity there grows in a very meaningful and ingenious manner. At the beginning, you saw that it took 30 ore to make 30 ingots for copper. Very easy. Input equals output. I can plan. You saw me plan. I knew that I was making 1,200. I could look at those and do the math in my head very quickly. Can't do that for aluminum. Aluminum takes in several things. None of them are equal. You take in 240 of one thing and you get out 100 of another. further, aluminum has waste products, water in this case, that clog up the line because it also uses water as an input at the beginning of the process. So you have this weird situation where you're trying to get rid of water while still getting water. And for that reason, we have a much more complicated problem. And then we have the nuclear power thing you saw at the beginning, which is just all the efficiencies rolled up into one. But right now, I want to kind of close with our topics. Anyone awake out there? Oh man, Megamaj, you had a call. You know what? When I get there, next one is going to be 10. Right on. Where am I going again? Oh yeah, Bamboo. Bamboo Nature Center. Do not eat the animals. We've got 3 interesting, surprising efficiencies to talk about. So if the player's trying to prevent themselves from spending time, or at least too much time, if they're trying to make sure that they have the resources they need, or else spend 2 hours like you saw of me running from place to place just to solve one problem, and also how much fun they're having per millisecond, right? There's some surprising efficiencies we can get out of that through 3 resets, which immediately I'm sure you as the player are thinking, reset? Ew, I don't want to reset anything. I have fought hard. I've earned this progress. And you have, by the way. The earning of progress in a video game is psychologically exactly the same as getting a diploma or anything else. It's fascinating how much you light up your pleasure sensors with that stuff. All right. So we're going to talk about 3 surprising efficiencies that are things you wouldn't expect. All right. Now what's going on? Oh, I see what I did. Okay. This guy needs to be told to go to Far East Ingots. Yeah, this one doesn't have it. Oh, it does have a drone. Okay, crap. We don't need to. That's just going to confuse things. So at some point, a drone will arrive. It says it's here already. There it is. Swatch 17. I need to find a Swatch 10 thing. Oh, here we go. You know, growing up, I didn't like the color pink. There's obvious reasons from my generation, but also unobvious reasons, like I just didn't like it. Didn't like any of the red colors. When I was young, but you're not my therapist, and I'm pretty sure that it's okay. Voila. But I swear, every decade I age, I start loving pink more and more. There's no agenda, there's no reason, there's no background, it's just, I like pink a lot now. I knew I had crossed the threshold when I reached a certain age, and my first thought was, I'm going to get a pink dress shirt, and I did. I don't ever wear dress shirts because ew, but when I do, I got a pink one. It's beautiful. I really like it. I was doing all that to delay thinking about what the actual layout is going to be of this new Alclad thing. So I need assemblers, not those constructors. And also I have this really inconvenient power line, so I'm going to clean this up real quick because it's my house and I can do whatever I want. The first kind of reset, resetting timers. What do I mean by that? That one's a little bit woolly. So let me kind of break that one down a little bit. We have timers in every game. Like every game has timers, even if they're not obvious. And the pulse and beat of these timers get incorporated into your very soul. Timer management is more than just this many things for this many things. It also contains a lot of creating the proper rhythms. And once you do that, once the player becomes efficient, knowing things like in 12 hours I get X or Y, then the player becomes too efficient at that one thing, and you lose the ability to create the gameplay necessary for another new efficiency. So we will come to the rescue with timer resets. And by that I mean changing the rules of the timers. And there's ways to do that. One is like a technology system, just resets timers, gets you back, reset to another way. But there's others. But in the end, by changing up the rhythm of the game, you reset the players from the job's worth, just do it by rote, kind of like you're seeing me do here, and you're creating a situation where the player is back to being the seeker. And being the seeker gives them the mental juice to do more than if they were just kind of plowing through it. So resetting the job's worth mind is a big deal for me when I'm creating any sort of gameplay that involves a timer. Because my real life involves a timer, and I certainly do not pay the medium-sized bucks to a game to do the same. These are going to be our outclads. 20 years to get here. We need aluminum ingots and copper ingots. And thanks to our new production lines, we is there. Since we're doing colors. Plug in power. What's another surprising efficiency? Resetting progress. What? 10 years ago, this would have been more of like, what? But now, roguelike games dominate the market for very good reason. So it's less of a surprising new efficiency. When I say new efficiency in these cases, I'm specifically talking about ways that the player becomes the player again, and therefore that reset allows them to re-engage with the game, create efficiencies again. Whoa! There was a doodly-doo. Oh, hey, Megamaj. Thank you for following. We are PieTrap, a small indie game company, and I'm the game designer, so I get the bouncy head in the corner. All right, let's see here. We got a splitter. This is going to deliver our copper. These different conveyor belts have different speeds. Sometimes you move too fast, baby. Oh, I see what's going on. Okay. We can still have fun with this. Make it a little fun. So these conveyor belts have certain speeds. I'm assuming by design, the belt 3, the mid belt, moves things at 270 units per minute. And for whatever reason, it seems to be the Swiss Army knife, and it's also the cheapest material, the steel beams, to build it. So by default, I try and build everything with either 6s, which is 1,200 a minute, or these jobs worth Mark 3s. Okay, we got the copper. Let's get that. Let's land this plane here. I'll tell you one thing. Be gone, fluid tank production facility. Oh wait, I do want your 3G marks. Oh no, that's just disposal. Okay, I don't care about disposal. I mean, I guess I care enough about disposal. Alright, these are aluminum ingots, which I have carefully spread, so now I gotta put them back together again. Oh, okay, well. Time for a journey, my friends. The journey to production. My note's closed. So why is resetting progress valuable? Well, I'll tell you one thing. In a factory game like this, no period. Players must choose to reset progress on a game where I've spent, say, 300 hours. That'd be a Greek tragedy if the game was like, congratulations, you built the thing, now you're done. No, not at this level of investment. However, other games, games with simple rules but complicated relationships. See, I found my notes. Are the kind of the core of the experience of a good game that resets progress. Examples: Balatro. I don't know if you pronounce it that way, but Balatro is an example of a game that you don't think is going to be fun, and then you play it and you're like, this is easy, and then you realize that the complicated card relationships and the ways the cards come together, the strategies that happen, and the fact that you cannot change strategy easily during a single game makes resetting progress the thing to do, because that sort of roguelike nature allows the player to play the game as intended, which is to find those strategies, to explore those cards. Another great example is Cultist Simulator, which I will be playing next week. Please join me next Thursday. Cultist Simulator is a rough one to recommend and to play because it also is built around the joy of defeat, but it also requires you to spend 4 hours to find out if you're going to be defeated, which is a game from another era. Oops, these need to be mergers. So why was I making Alclad? Because I need to ship them to Heatsink Salient to make heat sinks, so I can make cooling systems, so I can make the turbo motors. All right, so we are successfully building Alclad. They're stacking up too. Nice. Okay, we need one of these dealios. We'll just stick them all in there. Man, the day they put those guidelines, I may have wept tears of joy. I've been playing this game for a long time. I remember when they added drones. Oh, Steve, did you? Or sorry, Sojourner, did you? The beauty is broken. Cultist Simulator is another great reset progress game. I got 5 minutes, so I'm going to talk about the last thing, and then I'm going to do some wrap-up stuff. I'm actually going to play for a few more minutes after 9 p.m., and I'll just stream quietly while I do until I complete this specific project, because I'm sure there's at least one human being out there who will be frustrated if I just say, here's the stuff I was building, all to do this, and then I quit right when I got it. But we're just about there. I'll quietly play after this. After I talk about reset activity, which is different than reset progress. If reset progress clears the board for you to learn again, keeping that seeker mind paramount and giving you the joy also of understanding, which is what the joy of defeat is all about. In addition to that, there's just reset activity. So one of the many genius designs of Satisfactory, which I still very boldly, as a 20-year and experienced game designer, say is the game of the century so far. Satisfactory does reset progress very well. And the reason why it does that is we want to reset, reset activity. Sorry, I'm checking my... Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. If I was just building a factory, I alluded to this earlier. If I'm just building a factory, my mind might get tired of that. There's a lot of intricacies. You've seen me do it. And so luckily, there is a beautiful exploration set of the game, which I really wish I could have shown you one little bit of how it gets hairy. You know what? If I get this done very quickly, then I guess we can do that. One last color request. While I'm waiting for that color request, let's do the closing ceremonies. My name is Steve Williams. I go by Sojourner. I am the game designer for Pie Trap. We are a small indie game company and art studio. We are making a game called Forage Friends. Forage Friends is a game that promotes healthful walking, wonderful relationships with very cool characters, and gardening and crafting, just like you would like to do in a small, cozy, calm, friendship-filled game. Please join us as we grow our game You can find us on our PyTrap Discord, and you can find us wherever you get your information on the internet. Just type in PyTrap. There's not a lot of them out there. I think there's a Samuel PyTrap in Idaho or something. You can ignore him. Ooh, 858. So just to finish the thought. So in order to build properly, you need what I call the architect's mind, right? The architect's mind is the thing that says, okay, we need to build a drone port. This drone port needs to go to a location. And this location has its own doodads and stuff, which we really didn't get into a ton. But while I'm doing that, I'm definitely exhausting my mind. But if I wanted to, and like I said, I kind of wished I had, I can go off into this ludicrously dangerous bamboo forest and explore, find things and stuff like that. It's thrilling. It's actually surprisingly thrilling. Yeah, Lilu even gets into it. But what it does is it resets my mind. I go from a job's worth who has just been building this factory to a seeker again, literally seeking. And then when it gets too intense or when I run out of equipment, I can go right back to architecting, shifting gears, resetting that activity over and over and over again. I'm going to close officially, and then I'm going to more or less silently play to finish this task. My name, I already said my name. I want to thank Alondra for the really cool PNG tuber again in the corner that opens and closes my mouth. And I want to thank Priyat PyTrap for not only just being my great creative director, but also the founder of the feast that has me sitting here talking about game design with you. I will be here every Thursday night, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific, whatever arcane time that is for wherever you are in the globe. But 7 to 9 Pacific here. And each week I will be talking about a different game design topic using a different game. Next week will be Cultist Simulator, and we will be talking about the joy of defeat. At this point, I'm going to quietly play to finish this task. And I want to say, be well, everyone. You're all rad. Fly, you fools. Sorry, I said I was going to be quiet. I'm not going to be quiet. I don't know why I said that. All right, to the salient. Let's see if it arrives. We're hungry. Got up our game. Fine, no problem. Smile after a kiss. I'm making that much scrap. No. I could probably make that. We're looking to see if we have solved the problem at all. And then, if anyone's hanging out, which is cool if you're not, the stream is officially done. But if anyone's hanging out, I'll do a quick explore. Ride one of my deadly trains with the clever signs. So we'll go to Calamity Bay. I regret nothing! Well, I've arrived because of the radiation. Oh. I have to shut the door behind me. This is definitely a game where you look at what you've built and you're just like, what? I did this? Alright. Heatsink. Ah, this is the one that we just built. Because it's in the default color. So now we have at least 2 drones delivering output. Mission accomplished. Only took us 2 hours. Why, there we are. I was waiting for that. 2-hour notice. There we go, the delivery. We've created an alclad production line. We are continuing to feed our starving babies here in the heatsink production to get that 187.5 that we need. This port is where the heatsinks get exported from. This is where we bring in copper sheets to build these heat sinks. And this is where we bring in fuel to fuel all these these things, including the little truck down there. Okay, I promised silence too. I'm going to do a quick explore for funsies. See me shoot a few animals, do some big game hunting. Futurama was 1 season too long. There. That controversy will get us all the clicks. Absolutely everyone today thinks of Futurama a ton. Boom. All right. I need to check Botixie at some point. I'm sure that they're all clogged up. Make every day Xmas Day. All this just to go to my master portal. We'll have some fun. Twice during this game, I was wandering around and I found a gigantic factory. See that thing way over there? That's the Cataracts region. And I do not remember building that giant skyscraper of, ironically, copper production. And then I just stumbled on it one day and I'm like, wow, I built this. There's a lot of it. It is, it's much more extensive than this place. So, who knows? Hidden Valley Steel is the same way. I literally stumbled on it today. I'm like, oh, I need coal for that aluminum line. And then I showed up. There's this. So, I play this game sometimes early in the morning, but this is an incredibly extensive factory to have forgotten that you made. But I did. It handles a lot of business. One of the businesses it handles involve a little train ride. From Hidden Valley to Deep Woods, and all the spiders in between. While we're waiting for the train, let's do a little exploring over here, see if we can find anyone. Most of the game you're on foot, by the way. This is absolute endgame stuff, and it completely changes the game from challenging to move to this. Don't worry, not all of them are mowed down, though. I really do feel bad when I shoot the hogs. But they were going to eat me. Train should be coming back soon. Hidden Valley has got a ton of coal and a ton of iron, which makes steel. Which is clearly why I found this place. But I needed the coal elsewhere to make aluminum. So this aluminum place is also unfinished. It was a toss-up between whether I wanted to do this place or the bamboo area. Time will tell if I chose the route. Let's ride a train. Of course, first we have to actually do train business. And off we go. I decorated just for you guys. The light color adding is a lot of fun. 6 spiders. There were 6 spiders between here and there. I almost died here, hence the memorial atrium. The memorial of me almost dying, which is terrible. No one wants that. And here we are at Deep Woods. Let's go mushroom hunting. This is dangerous enough. Oh, there's a treasure over there. Where there's a treasure, there are monsters. Let's see what we got. Whenever I do this, I always feel like Muldoon from the first Jurassic Park. Every so often, something comes out and tries to eat me. I'm all like, clever girl. Yeah, here we go. That is called a nuclear hog. He shoots things at you. If you get... Oh, no, he's not a nuclear. He's the one step below you. He shoots things at you. Oh, there's 2 of them. Time to throw bombs. The AI isn't brilliant, actually, at all. Ooh, almost got me. I forgot that you're a thrower. You're doing a tough one. A little bit more big game hunting and then I'm done. Let's get some treasure, though. It's called a Mercer Sphere. That's how you get to do the extra dimensional storage. They also talk. I'll let it talk. That's about as clear as it gets. Oh, something's coming after me. Unfortunately for you, you are ground-based. There's another one over there, but it's guarded by hatchers. Let's go. Crying out loud. Ah, hogs. They survive a lot. Should probably thank Fix-It for providing me with such a absurd weapon. The rifle is almost a late game thing. You have to do this single shot rebar pistol for most of your time. Okay, oh, there's a nuclear hog. So they're radioactive, which is a non-issue for me, but earlier in the game, that's a real problem. And these two enemies together are a very interesting problem to solve. I said I was going to quit, but let's get that Mercer and then really quit. The curse of this game. All right, so hatchers, they're not hard to kill, but you have to be mindful. You shoot them a couple times, they open up, that's when they're vulnerable. After a few seconds, they send out those bees. Those bees are a real pain to deal with. So you do that, and you go, until it goes away. And then you can get the loots. Oh, I think he sees me. It will take me a long time to shoot this guy, so I'm going to try and get some bombs going here in a second. The one bit of AI that actually is good. It can detect when you're going to throw. There we go. I just looked through my window. I did not witness a threat. Alright, I will be shutting off this stream. If you're still here, give yourself a pat on the back. This is a long road we just went down. Just to build some alclad aluminum plates.